Hello, everybody. I'm so happy you guys tuned in to this episode about working with quantum codes. Thanks so much for being a part of the Mystery School. Today's episode, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about the work that I've been doing with quantum codes, and I'm going to teach you guys some basic quantum codes that you guys can use to start a little bit of an activation within yourself. But before we get into this, I do want to encourage you to, if you have not already done the Akashic Records Soul Purpose meditation workshop that's on here, do that first. Because what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be taking kind of like your soul purpose blueprint, and we are going to be using that to kind of build around in this episode, right? So if you've never been into the Akashic Records, you haven't seen those episodes, go watch the Soul Purpose, Soul Mission episode on Akashic Records, do that, then come back here. Cool. So, first thing I want to talk to you guys about is my experience working with quantum codes and trying to understand the quantum world. So, whenever I got really deep into channeling and trying to understand not only how to connect with, spirits and guides, but also like what is the real history of the earth? Are aliens in the ocean? Are they in space? All these different things, right? I really started to realize that I can't understand how all of it works unless I also understand some basic metaphysical and some basic quantum mechanics topics and how those integrate into spirituality, right? So I'm a big like spirituality girly. I'm not super knowledgeable on more like the scientific side. So it's been like over the past 6 months, I'm like, we are learning about metaphysics and quantum mechanics and all these things that I don't know about. So that put me into a spot where I've now been working with some quantum codes. I've gone through a really interesting quantum leap, and I actually did a video on YouTube, if you haven't already seen it, talking about my experience with quantum leap. I think I have part one up. I haven't done part two yet because I'm still like in the midst. But that brings us to today's episode. So everything exists in the quantum before it exists in the physical. What that means is that everything exists in our subconscious through visualization before it will actually show up for us while we're here, right? And so, what we're going to do first is we're going to build our blueprint. And by build our blueprint, what I want you to do is I want you to maybe pause the video, or maybe do these things and kind of pause the video. But I want you to think about and visualize your week in the life, month in the life, and year in the life of the version of you that you want to be. And I want you to visualize this if that feels good for you. I want you to journal it if that feels good for you. And I want to be very clear, you're probably going to go do this, and you're probably going to want to write some things down that you're like, ooh, who am I to say that I want this? You're going to feel some imposter syndrome. Let me just remind you that Kanye West just put out his bucket list, right? And Kanye West's bucket list has everything from like climb Mount Kilimanjaro to like learn how to pole dance and everything in between. So use your Kanye West energy when you're doing this, okay? If you truthfully want $1 million lake house, put down, I want $1 million lake house. If that feels uncomfortable, good. It means you're grasping outside of your current reality and what you currently believe. And every time we do that, our subconscious starts to get a little bit more and more comfortable with it. For me, whenever I go to manifest something and I know that like, yes, I'm deserving of it, and yes, I can have it, but it does feel very out of reach, that's when I started to notice that there's like a little bit of a gap, and that's maybe an area where maybe I need to focus, right? Especially if it comes to like money and abundance. So build your blueprints, week, month, year in the life. Nothing is too big. Use your Kanye confidence, okay? After you do that, I want you to visualize this day in the life, week of the life, whatever you come up with. I want you to visualize this as often as you can. Let's shoot for 3 times a week for 15 minutes a day. And you're just visualizing you being in that life. You have no expectations. You're just, if that for you is $1 million lake house, you're in the lake house. Who's with you? What does the day look like? What do you do for work? What do you do on Saturdays? Do you travel? Do you live in your family? Do you live by yourself? Do you have any pets? This is how specific we are getting in this phase. Okay. So once you do that, I want you to, as you're kind of going through that visualization process, what I want you to do is I want you to use some of these quantum codes that I'm going to give you in this episode and add those quantum codes into this visualization and meditation. So what that looks like for me is when I'm doing my 15 minutes of meditation and visualization. As I'm going through that, at the beginning, I'll put a code in. And by put a code in, what I mean is I will actually visualize. So I'm looking at a code that is A369. What I do is I visualize that code kind of getting bigger and popping out of the picture and becoming its own little hologram, right? A369. And then I envision myself kind of opening my heart chakra. Sometimes it helps to envision like a flower opening up, and sometimes I'll visualize there's like a pink rose quartz there. And what I'll do is I will put A369 kind of into the quartz. And if you've done Reiki, this is very similar to the feeling of putting a Reiki symbol into a chakra is the best thing that I can really compare it to, right? And so if you're completely new to doing things like this, work with it till it feels comfortable. But the goal is to kind of be able to visualize this quantum code A369, be able to kind of place it into the heart chakra as you're visualizing this new life and reality that you want to jump into. This quantum code is actually to activate your master alchemist. Alchemy is whenever you're able to take things that have been negative and transform them and overcome them and use them to better your life or to inspire others, right? And if you're here, you probably have that journey to an extent, right? Because we all do. So while that activates your master alchemist, whenever I was going through this work myself, one thing that very clearly came through is that if you're going to do the master alchemist code, you also need to use the kindness code. The kindness code allows you to have the highest level of compassion and empathy and understanding for other people around you. And as you start to become more aware, you start to maybe get a little frustrated with people like repeating the same cycles and you being able to see that and call that out really easily. And so this allows you to kind of recenter to empathy and kindness and compassion, because a lot of times, at least for me, the people that I work with are a lot of times past versions of me in a way, right? And then sometimes I can be like maybe a little judgmental because I've been through what they're going through. And so I know the answer, and then sometimes I'm kind of like, how'd you get yourself in this situation, right? And like, none of that is good, right? So I've really been working to just kind of be able to go into every situation completely judgment free with every single person that I work for or work with. And this kindness code has really helped me to do that. So the kindness code is NR42. So same thing, we're going to visualize NR42. We're going to visualize it. We're going to visualize the heart chakra opening. Maybe it's a flower. Maybe it's a chakra. Maybe you visualize a crystal in the middle. And then we're going to put NR42 just into the crystal. Just allow it to be absorbed in. And then notice how you feel. Like for me, whenever I put the code in, normally I feel this like really powerful energy in the heart chakra. And then it almost feels like it's kind of pulsating slowly throughout the rest of my body. So these quantum codes are really here to activate dormant DNA and dormant codes that you have not been able to unlock prior, because we live in, a society where a lot of times we're attempted to, kind of the higher powers just want us to be in that lower vibrational state, right? And so now that there's so many people waking up, we're all like, no, 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 we don't have to do that. We can't actually use some of these things that you guys told us were like woo-woo or whatever to activate the highest timeline. So save this video for any time you need it. If you want to write down the codes, if you want to go back, do this as many times as you need to. Right now, I'm trying to use these codes on myself and do this practice for myself 3 times a week. So if you want to join me in that would be fabulous. Come back to this video anytime, and I will see you guys on the next episode.